Bill Browder, CEO of Hermitage Capital Management. Nice to see you at the Aspen Ideas Festival.
Good to see you.
You were once the biggest foreign investor in Russia. Since that time, you have been called a threat to Russia's national security. You are not a fan of Vladimir Putin. So my question for you is he a threat to our national security?
Well, I think in today's world and what he's doing, he's probably the single greatest threat to world peace and certainly U.S. national security that there exists out there. Vladimir Putin is now redrawing the map of Europe for the first time since the Second World War. He's made explicit threats of using nuclear weapons, and he's basically intent on breaking up NATO and the European Union. And this is not a good man or a good situation.
And that's on top, of course, of Ukraine and other things that have happened. With Europe in particular, how is Greece impacting Russia's relationship with Europe?
Well, so one of Putin's big objectives, one of the things that he really wants to do is to take away the power of the European Union. He likes to pick countries off one by one. He's able to do that. And what he doesn't like is when there's a large body that he can't pick off. And so the European Union is based up of 28 countries that operate on a consensus decision-making basis. And so by taking a country which is in crisis, like Greece, and dangling a little bit of money or whatever, he's basically trying to break up the European consensus. And with this Greek crisis, that may very well work. Having said that, I think it's a very short-term strategy because Greece, if it turns out to exit the European Union, I can't imagine that the European Union is going to allow them veto power over Russian sanctions and other things like that.
In terms of Russia's power, though, haven't they been cut to the knees a little bit by what's happened with the economy, lower oil prices? In other words, is it just bravado, or is there a real threat there?
So we have to ask ourselves, why is Putin doing all this stuff? And he's not doing this stuff because he's feeling encircled by NATO or various things that other people have said. He's doing this because he's afraid of his own people. He's afraid of being overthrown the way that the Ukrainian president was overthrown. And so all of this stuff that he's doing is basically to redirect the anger that might have come towards him outside. He's like making the anger towards Ukraine, making the anger towards America. And so the worse that things get, and they're getting bad in Russia, no question about it. Oil prices are down, the ruble is down, the economy is down. But the worse that it gets, the more he lashes out because he needs to have everybody be angry at someone other than him.
Should the U.S. be preparing for some sort of military confrontation with Russia?
Well, ideally not. I mean, Russia is a nuclear power. We've been through this before. There was a standoff for many.
We called it the Cold War.
The Cold War, where we were pointing our nukes at him, and they were at them, and they were pointing their nukes at us. However, what we should understand is that if we don't take advantage right now of opportunities to stop him when he's not fighting with us directly. He's fighting with Ukraine right now. The Ukrainians need arms. They have an old military that's fighting a new military, and they're fighting for their homeland, and they're a buffer effectively for us fighting with them. And so we should do everything we can possibly to support Ukraine in this military conflict.
You made so much money investing in Russia. If you could, would you again?
Well, in my situation, first we made money in Russia, then they tried to take our money away, and then they committed a terrible corruption crime connected to our companies, and then they killed my lawyer, Sergei Magnitsky, after torturing him to death. And so if I could turn back the clock, I'd rather have none of that to avoid the death of Sergei Magnitsky.
Perfectly understandable. This is hard to transition, but I do want to talk to you about investing overall. When I look at what you did in Russia, I start thinking about Cuba. Now, I know that's a very different kind of country, but we don't have that many communist countries out there that are transitioning. Is that an opportunity potentially? Do you look at Cuba as perhaps the next place where we could see real opportunity?
Well, so when I got involved in Russia, they did what's called mass privatization, where they gave everything away for free to the Russian people en masse all at once. And then it started trading at a slight premium to free. And so it's still free. Cuba may be opening up, but Cuba, there's no mass privatization program going on in Cuba. And so I would say that anyone who's saying that this is some kind of replicable situation from Russia before, it's not. Cuba is not the same thing. And we're in a world right now where there's just so much money floating around with 0% interest rates and quantitative easing that nothing is cheap out there, and certainly nothing like Russia was when I first got involved.
Bill Browder, it's been great speaking with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.